Bankey here. I miss you all, and I'm looking forward to doing a paint class by Zoom with you, at least until we can get together again here at the BOAA. This is the piece that I plan on doing with you. It's a fairly simple piece. For those who are new painters, this would be a good piece to start on. So if you've never painted before, don't be afraid to join this class. And for those of you who just haven't got around to keeping up with your painting during this time, this is a good one to just get you back into the swing of things. I've got everything laid out here to show you how I want your setup. So there's a list coming out to you, plus this little Zoom or video to tell you exactly how to be set up to be ready to go ahead. Hi, here we go. This is how I like to set up my table for when I'm getting ready to paint. I do it the same way over and over again, so every time I sit down, everything is always in the same place. I can almost reach for what I want without even having to look. Now, I'm right-handed, so everything I have set up here is on my right-hand side. If you're left-handed, you're going to set everything up on your left-hand side. Reason for that is being right-handed, if I'm reaching for paint, I'm coming over onto my painting and I'm not going to accidentally drip anything. If I set everything up on my left side, I would be constantly reaching back and forth over my painting, and I could possibly drip something in a very bad spot, which we don't want to do. So we're going to set everything up. Now I'm just going to look at my list here to make sure I don't miss anything. This is a very easy, simple painting, and I've got 4 paints here. I've picked them up from the Dollar Tree. The blue we're actually going to do as, we're going to mix it with some white and get 3 shades of blue. The pink, this was the pink that they had. I'm going to actually lighten this up a bit with a little bit of white as well, and some black and white. So 4 paints. If you've already got paints in your collection, you need a dark blue and a medium blue and a light blue. And then a pink. Any pink you've got in your paints, we can lighten up with white if you should need to. It's not it's not a big expense, and everything's going to be to your choice. So that's your paints. Dollar Tree, they're $1.25. I think at Dollarama they're $1.50. They don't have this nice dark navy blue, but you can always take the darkest blue you can find there, and we can darken it up a little bit with some black. Paint dishes. I like something substantial, something that you can really get your brush down into without slopping paint all over, and you can really give it a good wash. And you would only fill those maybe 1/3 of the way full. And the reason I have 2 is I like one that I get really dirty, and once I get most of the paint out, I go into my fairly clean water and give it another wash. After that, I like to come out onto something to dry my brush. Now, you could use an old tea towel and an old t-shirt. Even I've got one of those, whatever you call these cloths. Anything that absorbs water well. If it's got a lot of polyester in it, it doesn't really suck the water out of your brush. So kind of test and see how the whatever you're using. But it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be as simple as paper towels. So that's that. What else do we need? Oh, I like to use styrofoam plates. And you notice these ones got a bit of a lip on them. And the reason I like them to have a bit of a lip on them is because once I have my paints out and I have my paints mixed, and I want to go away and do something else, and I don't want the paint all to dry out, I'll just slip them into a Ziploc bag, close the Ziploc bag, and they'll stay for days wet. And with having an edge of a plate come up, it keeps the top of the Ziploc bag from getting into your paint. So usually 2 of those. We'll mix blues on one and we'll mix pinks on the other. So that's your paint dish. Let's see, what else do we need to do? Brushes. Now, this is going to sound a little weird. I like to use these old ratty brushes. What they actually are is, I don't know if you need to zoom in close to this or not. This is actually a basting brushes, Pillsbury basting brushes from the Walmart, from their housewares department. Now, what I like about these brushes are they're very, the terminology I have a tendency to use is ratty on the ends. They're not nice and blunt and perfect. And we're going to be doing 90%, 95% of our class with this one brush. We're going to do the sky, we're going to do the trees, we're going to do the cattails in the bottom with this one brush. If you don't, you can see the difference. This brush is very perfect on the end, and this one is very ratty. Now, if you're buying these brushes new for the first time, they have a tendency to lose hairs. They're not a good brush by any stretch of the imagination, but I love it. What I want you to do if you do go out and get it new is take a fingernail brush or a fairly stiff brush, put it down in your sink, run the water over it, and just keep sort of combing the fingernail brush over it to get as many of those loose hairs out of it as you possibly can. If you can't get out and you can't get one of these, and you do have a nice, decent brush in the house, don't worry about it. It will work as well. What else do we need? Oh, just a couple if you've got them. A medium-sized flat brush, a fairly small round brush, and a scroll brush. But if you don't have the scroll brush, you could double duty with the round brush. These don't have to be top of the line brushes, just a fairly medium, decent little brush. What else do we have? So we've got our brushes, of course, a canvas. We'll need a canvas. This is a 16 by 20, and I'll be demonstrating on a 16 by 20. You can pick these up at Dollarama has them, but and Walmart will have them, as well as, I don't think the Dollar Tree has them. Now, if you have a canvas that you've already used for something and you're not particularly in love with the painting, you can reuse it. Just give it a sand and cover it over with some white paint, and it'll be good to use again. When you sand, make sure you tack all the dust off before you start giving it a coat of white paint. Okay, what now? We've got our paints, we've got our canvas. For your canvas, you're going to measure down 13 inches, and you're just going to make a tick mark. So on each side, just a little pencil mark, nothing. And you're going to take green painter's tape, and you're just going to stretch it across from pencil mark to pencil mark. So just don't worry about down here, but run your finger back and forth across the top of it fairly good to make sure it's sealed pretty well. That's all you have to do to have your camera ready for the class. So your tape, and it's down. What else do we have? We've got our brushes, we've got our water dishes, we've got some scrap paper. This is just paper that I had lying around. There's stuff on the back. And the reason you want some scrap paper fairly handy is because we're going to do some little testing on the scrap paper before you go onto your canvas. You'll notice that I have a towel down under where I'm going to be painting. It's just an old towel. You can see by all the stain marks on the towel. I use it a lot. But you could put a garbage bag down on your table to make sure that you don't mess anything up. We're going to need to dry the top portion before we take our tape off and start working on the bottom portion. You can do it either with a hair dryer or somewhere you could have a fan set up where you can sit this over in front of a fan, and just the air movement will be pretty good about drying it as well. And one final thing. A beverage of your choice. After all, this is a paint party, and we're just going to have some fun and have a few beverages and paint. Until then, I'll see you when we're all ready to go. Thank you. Bye-bye.